Forget bone broth. For years, it's been promoted as some sort of miracle food for joints, skin, and even muscle. But here's the reality. If you're over 60 and you want to stay strong, independent, and full of energy, bone broth simply isn't enough. Dr. Peter Attia, one of the most respected physicians in the United States when it comes to longevity and health span, makes this very clear. Muscle is the single most important organ for healthy aging. Protecting it means protecting your life. Losing it means losing your freedom. And this is where most people get it wrong. They believe that sipping bone broth or following the latest wellness trend will keep their muscles strong. But Attia's research and decades of clinical experience tell a different story. What really matters are specific nutrients that directly trigger muscle repair and growth. Nutrients you won't find in any meaningful amount in bone broth. Let me put it this way. Have you ever seen someone in their late 60s or early 70s who still walks with confidence, climbs stairs with ease, maybe even plays with their grandkids without getting exhausted? And then compare that to others the same age who struggle to get out of a chair, or who avoid activity because they don't trust their own strength. That gap is not luck. It's the result of choices, daily nutrition, lifestyle, and the kind of knowledge that doctors like Peter Attia are now sharing. In this video, you're going to learn why bone broth doesn't deliver what your muscles truly need, and you'll discover the real food that science and Attia's own clinical practice highlights as essential for protecting muscle after 60. By the end, you'll not only understand the science in plain language, you'll also have practical strategies that you can apply immediately. And you'll see why Peter Attia insists that building and preserving muscle is one of the greatest investments you can make in your future self. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn could be the turning point between simply getting older and waking up stronger. Now that we've set the stage, let's talk about the real problem that almost no one addresses directly: the silent loss of muscle with age. Doctors call it sarcopenia. Peter Attia calls it one of the greatest threats to longevity and independence. Here's what it looks like in real life. At first, you notice small changes. Getting out of a chair feels harder, carrying groceries feels heavier than before, or walking up a flight of stairs leaves you more winded than it used to. You might think, well, I'm just getting older. But that explanation hides the truth. Sarcopenia is not just about aging. It's about biology, nutrition, and daily choices. Attia emphasizes that past the age of 60, you naturally lose muscle each year if you don't fight back. And when you lose muscle, you don't just lose strength. You lose confidence, balance, and even metabolic health. Think of muscle as your body's reserve tank. It stores strength, stability, and energy. The less you have, the less you can handle the shocks of life, a fall, an illness, even a stressful week. Without that reserve, recovery takes longer, fatigue sets in faster, and your risk of losing independence skyrockets. Let's make it simple with a metaphor. Imagine your muscles as the foundation of a house. Over time, without maintenance, the foundation cracks. At first, the cracks are small and invisible, but eventually the whole structure becomes unstable. That's what sarcopenia does to your body. Slowly, silently, until the day you notice that ordinary movements feel unsafe. And here's the deeper danger. Muscle is not just about movement. Muscle is also a metabolic organ. It regulates blood sugar, supports brain health, and protects your immune system. Attia reminds his patients all the time. When you build muscle, you are not just building biceps. You are building protection for your heart, your brain, and your entire body. Let's consider two different people, both 65 years old. John hasn't paid much attention to his protein intake or exercise. He's lost muscle steadily over the past decade. He now struggles to climb stairs, avoids long walks, and lives with constant fatigue. Mary, on the other hand, followed Attia's core advice. She prioritized muscle, focused on high-quality protein sources, and kept her body supplied with the nutrients needed for repair. Today, she moves with confidence, enjoys her hobbies, and still plays with her grandchildren on the floor. Same age, two very different outcomes. And the difference started years earlier with choices about nutrition and lifestyle. Science backs this up. Studies show that adults over 60 who lose more than 10% of their muscle mass are far more likely to suffer falls, fractures, and hospitalizations. But those who maintain or increase muscle enjoy better balance, more independence, and longer, healthier lives. So, when people say it's normal to get weaker as you age, Peter Attia disagrees. He says it's common, but it's not inevitable. With the right inputs, the right foods, the right vitamins, the right habits, you can not only slow muscle loss, you can reverse it. And that's exactly why in the next section we'll focus on a food Attia often highlights in his clinical practice. A food that delivers the building blocks your muscles are starving for, and that makes a measurable difference in your strength, your energy, and your independence. So, if bone broth is not the solution, what food truly delivers the building blocks your muscles need after 60? Dr. Peter Attia highlights it over and over again: the egg. And at first, that might surprise you. For years, eggs have been unfairly criticized because of cholesterol. Many people were told to limit them, even avoid them. But modern science and Attia's clinical practice tell a very different story. Eggs are one of the most complete, affordable, and powerful foods you can eat to fight sarcopenia. Let's break down why. First, eggs are a near-perfect source of essential amino acids, the exact building blocks your body needs to repair and grow muscle. Among these amino acids, there's one that stands out: leucine. Leucine acts like a switch. When it reaches your muscles, it signals them to start the process of growth and repair. Without leucine, that switch doesn't flip. And here's the key: bone broth has almost no leucine, while eggs provide exactly the right dose in every serving. Think of it like this: you can have a construction site ready, workers on standby, and all the tools in place. But unless someone turns on the power, nothing gets built. Leucine is that power switch, and eggs are loaded with it. Beyond protein, eggs deliver vitamin D, choline, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, nutrients that protect not just muscle, but also your brain, your eyes, and your overall energy. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two breakfasts, one with a cup of bone broth, the other with 2 scrambled eggs. The bone broth gives you warm liquid, some flavor, and very little usable protein. The eggs, on the other hand, provide high-quality protein, leucine to trigger repair, vitamin D for bone and muscle, and choline to support memory and focus. Which of those two do you think prepares you better for the day? The science, and Peter Attia, would say the eggs win every time. And here's what's most encouraging: you don't need to eat a dozen eggs a day. Just a consistent, moderate intake, 2 or 3 eggs most mornings, can make a measurable difference in how much muscle you maintain, how much energy you feel, and how confident you are in your body. Now, let's tackle the elephant in the room: cholesterol. For decades, eggs were painted as dangerous because of their cholesterol content. Many people over 60 were told by their doctors to cut back, thinking it would protect their heart. But Peter Attia emphasizes what modern research confirms: dietary cholesterol from eggs does not translate into dangerous cholesterol in your blood for the vast majority of people. In fact, eggs often improve your cholesterol profile. They raise HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, which acts like a cleanup crew for your arteries. And they have little to no negative impact on LDL when consumed as part of a balanced diet. Here's what that means for you. Instead of being afraid of eggs, you should see them as allies. Allies for your muscles, your brain, and even your cardiovascular health. Let me give you a scenario. Picture 2 friends, both 65 years old. One sticks to bone broth every morning because they believe it's safe and easy. They feel full for a little while, but by mid-morning they're tired, hungry, and sluggish. The other starts the day with 3 boiled eggs and a slice of whole grain toast. They're not only satisfied for hours, but they also give their body the exact tools it needs to keep muscles active and metabolism steady. A year later, the difference is striking. One feels weaker, the other stronger, and more capable of enjoying life. Beyond that, eggs provide nutrients that bone broth simply cannot. Choline, found in the yolk, is critical for brain health and memory. Vitamin D supports both bone strength and immune function. Lutein and zeaxanthin protect vision, something incredibly important as we age. Think about how powerful that is. In one single food, you get protein to fight muscle loss, vitamins to protect your bones, nutrients for your eyes, and compounds that keep your brain sharp. No supplement, no trendy superfood, no expensive broth can match that complete package. And here's the best part. Eggs are affordable, available almost everywhere, and incredibly versatile. Scrambled, boiled, poached, or in an omelet with vegetables. Each preparation gives you the same core benefits. Dr. Attia often reminds his patients that consistency matters more than perfection. You don't need gourmet meals. You don't need exotic powders. You just need reliable sources of quality protein. And eggs, plain and simple. Now that you know why eggs are so powerful on their own, let's take it one step further. Because here's the truth. Nutrition is the foundation, but movement is the amplifier. Peter Attia repeats this constantly to his patients. Muscle is the currency of longevity. And like any currency, you can't just store it. You have to use it and invest it. That's where lifestyle comes in. Let's imagine 2 different mornings. In the first, someone eats 3 scrambled eggs, but spends the rest of the day sitting. In the car, at the table, on the couch. The body gets the nutrients, yes, but the signals to use them for muscle building are weak. In the second morning, someone eats the same 3 scrambled eggs, then goes for a brisk walk, does light resistance training with bands, or climbs a few flights of stairs. In this case, the body not only receives the raw material, but also the demand signal. We need more muscle, we need repair, we need strength. Here's the key. Your muscles are like sponges. Without movement, they stay dry and stiff, and nutrients just pass by. But when you exercise, even gently, those sponges open up and soak in the amino acids, the leucine, the vitamin D from eggs. That's when repair and growth actually happen. And the good news is, you don't need to train like an athlete. Attia often reminds people that even simple, consistent resistance, bodyweight squats, pushing against a wall, carrying groceries intentionally, can create the stimulus your muscles need. Combine that with a high-quality protein source like eggs, and you unlock a compounding effect. Think of it as a partnership. The eggs provide the building blocks, and the movement tells your body where to place them. One without the other is incomplete. Together, they are transformative. Studies confirm this. Older adults who combine adequate protein intake with resistance exercise not only preserve muscle, but also improve balance, reduce risk of falls, and extend their health span. And this is exactly what Peter Attia means when he says we should be training for the last decade of our life, not just for today. So as you enjoy your eggs tomorrow morning, remember, each bite is an investment. But the return on that investment only multiplies when you move your body. Coming up next, we'll expand beyond protein and talk about another pillar you may be overlooking: hydration and electrolytes. Because muscle isn't just built from food and movement. It's also powered by the right internal environment. We've talked about protein, about eggs, and about movement. But there's another pillar that most people over 60 don't pay enough attention to: hydration and electrolytes. Peter Attia often reminds his patients that muscle is not just a collection of fibers. It's an electrically active tissue. Every contraction, every step you take, every time you lift something depends on signals that travel through your nerves and reach your muscles. And those signals only work when your body has the right balance of electrolytes. Let's make this very simple. Imagine trying to start your car with a weak battery. The engine might turn, but it struggles. It feels sluggish. That's what your muscles feel like when you're dehydrated or low on electrolytes. The power is there, but it can't fully turn on. Electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, are the spark plugs for your muscle engine. Sodium helps your nerves fire correctly. Potassium keeps your muscle contractions smooth and coordinated. Magnesium relaxes muscles so they don't cramp, and calcium triggers the actual contraction that lets you move. Without the right balance, your muscles can't perform at their best. Here's a scenario. One older adult spends the day sipping only coffee and maybe a little water. By the afternoon, they feel weak, dizzy, and their muscles cramp. Another person drinks water steadily, includes mineral-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, bananas, and sprinkles a bit of salt on their meals. By evening, they still feel stable, clear, and strong. Same age, same day, but two completely different outcomes. And here's something surprising. As we age, our sense of thirst becomes less reliable. That means waiting until you feel thirsty is too late. Attia advises a proactive approach. Don't wait for dehydration, stay ahead of it. The good news is that supporting hydration doesn't have to be complicated. Start your day with a glass of water before coffee. Add foods naturally rich in electrolytes: spinach, pumpkin seeds, avocados. And if you're active, a simple, homemade electrolyte mix with water, a pinch of salt, and a squeeze of lemon can go a long way. Think about it this way. Protein from eggs builds the house, but electrolytes keep the lights on. Without them, the entire system struggles. With them, everything runs smoothly. Your energy.
Now, we need to talk about one of the most underestimated enemies of healthy aging: inflammation. Dr. Peter Attia often describes inflammation as a silent fire. You don't always feel it, but it slowly burns through your body, damaging tissues, disrupting recovery, and accelerating the very muscle loss we've been trying to prevent. What does this look like in everyday life? It's the stiffness in your joints that seems worse in the morning. It's the unexplained fatigue that doesn't go away even after a full night's sleep. It's the swelling in your ankles or the constant low-level aches that you start to accept as just part of aging. But in reality, they are signals that your body is inflamed. The danger is that chronic inflammation works against every effort you make. You can eat enough protein, stay hydrated, and even exercise. But if your body is inflamed, your recovery slows, your muscles don't repair as well, and you feel weaker than you should. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine trying to build a house while a fire smolders in the basement. You can bring in bricks, wood, and workers, but as long as the fire keeps burning, your progress is constantly undone. That's exactly how inflammation undermines muscle building and overall health. So the question is, how do we put out that fire? Science gives us clear answers. Certain foods are naturally anti-inflammatory, and Attia consistently highlights them in his work. Fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, provide omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammatory pathways. Colorful fruits, like blueberries and strawberries, are loaded with antioxidants that neutralize free radicals. Leafy greens, like spinach and kale, provide magnesium and phytonutrients that calm the nervous system. Spices, such as turmeric and ginger, actively lower markers of inflammation in the blood.
Let's create a simple picture. Two people, both 70 years old, finish the same light workout. One goes home and eats processed foods high in sugar and seed oils. Their body stays inflamed, their recovery stalls, and the next day they feel sore, stiff, and unmotivated. The other enjoys grilled salmon with a side of spinach and a handful of walnuts. Their body gets the protein to repair muscle, the omega-3s to fight inflammation, and the antioxidants to accelerate healing. The result? The next day they wake up more energized, more mobile, and ready to stay active. And here's the important part. This is not just about how you feel today. Chronic inflammation is linked to almost every disease of aging: heart disease, diabetes, dementia, arthritis. Attia reminds us that controlling inflammation is one of the most powerful longevity tools we have, because it protects not just your muscles, but your entire health span. The practical takeaway is simple. Build your plate with anti-inflammatory allies. Add fish twice a week. Include berries in your breakfast. Use olive oil instead of processed seed oils. Add turmeric and ginger to soups or teas. These small, consistent choices are like water to a fire, each one helping to cool the flames of inflammation. And remember, this is not about perfection.
It's about tipping the scale in your favor day after day. Every anti-inflammatory food you choose is a step toward more energy, less pain, and a stronger, more resilient body. So let's bring this together. Eggs supply the building blocks. Movement tells your body how to use them. Hydration keeps the system running, and anti-inflammatory foods make sure the fire stays out so your progress isn't destroyed. In the next section, we'll bring all of these elements together and translate them into daily, practical strategies you can follow. Because information is powerful, but only if it turns into action.
We've covered the science, the nutrients, and the hidden enemies. Now it's time to make all of this practical. Because Peter Attia is very clear. Knowledge without application is useless. What matters is how you translate these principles into daily habits. Let's start with the morning. Instead of reaching for coffee and a slice of toast, imagine starting your day with 2 or 3 eggs, a handful of spinach, and a few berries on the side. In just one meal, you've covered protein, leucine, vitamin D, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds. That's a powerful foundation for the rest of your day. Then comes movement. You don't need an expensive gym or hours of training. A 20-minute walk after breakfast, a few bodyweight squats, or simple resistance band exercises in your living room are enough to signal your muscles. Stay strong, stay active, keep growing. Attia often says that the best exercise plan is the one you can do consistently, not perfectly, but daily. Now, hydration. Build the habit of drinking a glass of water before every meal. Add mineral-rich foods, nuts, seeds, bananas, avocados. If you've been active, use a simple homemade electrolyte drink, water, a pinch of salt, and a squeeze of lemon. Think of it as charging the battery that powers your muscles all day long. For lunch and dinner, aim for balance. Pair protein with colorful vegetables and healthy fats. Grilled salmon with olive oil and roasted broccoli. Chicken with turmeric-spiced rice and leafy greens. These meals are not complicated, but they're aligned with everything science and Attia tell us about longevity nutrition. And here's a practical tip. Consistency beats intensity. Don't worry about being perfect every single day. What matters is building patterns that repeat. Eggs most mornings. Movement most days. Hydration every few hours. Anti-inflammatory foods every week. Over months, these patterns add up to real, visible changes in strength, energy, and independence. Picture this scenario. One person in their 60s tries every supplement and wellness trend, but never builds consistent habits. They spend money, they chase quick fixes, but they don't see lasting results.
We've covered a lot in this journey together. We began by challenging the myth of bone broth, and we discovered why eggs, simple, affordable, and nutrient-rich, are a cornerstone for protecting muscle after 60. We learned how muscle loss, or sarcopenia, is not just about weakness, but about independence, confidence, and even longevity itself. We explored how eggs provide leucine, vitamin D, choline, and antioxidants that bone broth simply cannot match. We connected this to movement, hydration, and anti-inflammatory foods, seeing how each piece works together like a system designed to keep you strong, resilient, and capable. But let's step back for a moment and make this personal. Imagine yourself 1 year from today. You've made small but consistent changes. Eggs in the morning, a glass of water before meals, a walk after lunch, salmon and vegetables for dinner, a handful of nuts instead of processed snacks. At first, those choices may feel too simple to matter. But as weeks turn into months, you notice something. Stairs feel easier. Your balance feels steadier. Your mornings feel clearer. You wake up with energy you thought you had lost forever. Now imagine the opposite. A year of skipping protein, ignoring hydration, and living with unchecked inflammation. The difference is night and day. And the choice, starting today, is entirely in your hands. Dr. Peter Attia often reminds us that aging well is not about luck,
It's about strategy. It's about building reserves of muscle, energy, and health that you can draw on for decades to come. And the earlier you start, the more powerful those reserves become. So here's my challenge for you. Choose one strategy from today's video and start it this week. Maybe it's eating eggs most mornings. Maybe it's adding a short daily walk. Maybe it's replacing sugar with berries or adding a pinch of salt to your water. Start small, but start now. And here's a secret. You don't need to be perfect. What matters is momentum. Each choice builds on the last, and over time, you'll look back and realize you've built not just stronger muscles, but a stronger life. Because at the end of the day, this isn't only about protein or vitamins or hydration. It's about freedom. The freedom to move, to live, to enjoy the people and experiences you love most. So as you close this video, remember,